A. Oh man. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of You Guessed It. It's Jaking Off. Wow. Wow. Wowie, wow, wow. Wowie, wow, wow, wow. Thanks for tuning in. If you are just checking this out for the first time, my name is Jake Redpath. I'm your host. This is Jaking Off. It's a podcast about me. It's about comedy. It's about politics sometimes. We get in there. It's about current events. We're goofing. We're joking. We're joking around. If you would like to support me and this podcast, the best thing you can do is you can follow us on Instagram at jakin.off.podcast@gmail.com. Is where you can email. But you can follow us on Instagram at jakin.off.podcast. Whoops. Send an email to that Gmail too, though. jakin.off.podcast@gmail.com. I'm pretty bad at intros. What else? I got some live shows coming up this week, right after this drops. So if you want to also support me, a good way to do it is by coming to a live stand-up comedy show. Both of the ones that I have this week are in Kansas City on Friday. I'll be at Strange Days Brewing Company. Ooh, strange. Strange Days Brewing Company. How interesting. How interesting. Then later on Saturday, I will be hosting Don't Tell Comedy in the West Bottoms. So, secret location, secret lineup. It's always a fun time. Tickets usually sell out. So, if you're listening to this on Tuesday, buy your tickets, dude. If you're listening to this on Saturday, it might be too late. So, just holler at your boy. With that said, welcome Jake Off Nation to another episode of Jaking Off. I'm excited to be here. I've had a nice little week. I did some comedy last night. I hosted Knuckleheads. I did some comedy in St. Louis, out of town. Oh my gosh. I had a fun time. I did comedy at a comic book shop. Jenny went with me. She got a couple of comic books. And it was just a fun time. I hung out with a friend, my friend Ben from St. Louis, who's also a comedian. Very funny, Ben Johnson. Check him out. We grabbed dinner. He was on the show too. And then we drove back home super late. Oh my God, dude. It can kind of be scary driving late at night. 'Cause we drove back from St. Louis the night of the show, and the show was at 8. It ended at, we probably left there right around 10 o'clock, I think. And so we didn't get home until after 2 a.m. And boy, oh boy, do I not like driving late at night. It scares me. I get really scared. When we drive on like 2-lane roads, I get freaked out because I don't trust the other people coming the other direction, especially because we drove down to where Jenny's family lives, down on Lake of the Ozarks. And Jenny's used to it. She'll drive on like these windy roads. You can't see anything, going over hills, around corners and stuff, and it's just 2 lanes, one going each way. And I'm holding like the the handle on the roof the entire time, just scared. I fucking hate it. I hate it so much. Luckily, driving home from St. Louis wasn't like that. It's just a, straight shot down I-70. But the dangerous part about that is falling asleep, I feel like. It's tough. It's tough to stay awake. And I haven't been drinking caffeine. I don't know if I've talked about this. I haven't been drinking caffeine. I've been laying off, but when we were driving around so much, I had a 5-hour energy, and it fucked me up for the rest of the day. I couldn't go to sleep. I ended up driving most of the way home because I was fucking wired, dude. So, yeah, I didn't drink caffeine for a month, and then I dove back in head first with a 5-hour energy extra strength, and it fucking destroyed me. It absolutely ruined my life. I don't know, man. It was a good time. I had a nice weekend, so love it. Love doing a little stand-up comedy. The show that I did in St. Louis was a good time. It was a really small venue, and so there weren't a lot of people there. Most of the people that were there were comedians, which, whatever. It's fine. I honestly, I feel worse for the other comedians on the show that are from St. Louis, because it's much worse for them. They've all heard each other's jokes. At least for me, none of those comics had ever heard my jokes, really. So kind of made it a little bit easier on me. Oh, man. I was thinking today about, because I was talking to a friend of mine, and they were talking about a breakup that they had been going through or whatever. And dudes are like so weird. I don't know. It's like so strange how men talk to each other normally about breakups and shit. Because, like, what do a lot of dudes, like, tell other dudes? They're like, oh, dude, the best way to get over a breakup? Just fuck somebody else. Like, just go fuck anybody, dude. It doesn't even matter. Just blinders on, dude. Just go fuck your way out of depression. And, I'm not so sure that that's great advice. It's so strange, right? Like, she's like, oh, you're hurting right now? What if you masked it by getting a bunch of pussy, dude? It's really weird. I don't know. I don't know why I was thinking about that. I think it's just because, so much of dude culture and just like being a dude is like pretending to be a badass, or like, that nothing bothers you or whatever. It's so stupid. Why are dudes like that? It's so dumb. It's so silly. We all have feelings. It's okay, man. Just talk about them. Just talk about them a little bit, buddy. Come on. Let loose. Let her rip, I don't fucking know. I have a hard time. Understanding people's, like, people get angry. I don't understand that emotion very much. I get frustrated sometimes, but I don't know that I ever am like, at least not very often am I getting to the point where I'm yelling. I don't like yelling and stuff. I don't know. What are we even talking about? Dudes, don't listen to your friends, guys. Go to therapy. If you're really having a hard time, go talk to a therapist. What are you so scared of? Plenty of fish in the sea out there, buddy. Yeah, don't listen to your buds. It's been a weird week. It's been a really weird week. I saw this clip that somebody posted on Twitter. I should probably keep track of who's posting this shit on Twitter. Who knows? I'm probably not going to. But this is a very cringy political account. This lady does like YouTube and TikTok, and it's strange. She's very much so like a mainstream liberal lady, and she looks to be, in her 40s. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it is strange that her name online is Politics Girl, 'cause she seems more like politics lady, politics woman, but she's a little older. But I saw this video that somebody posted of her, and she's talking. The primaries are in full swing. She's talking about the Democratic primaries. They're not in full swing, but they're shaping up. They're taking form, and it's seeming as if there's not going to be very much challenge to Joe Biden, which is what this lady is talking about in this video. And so I'll just go ahead and play it and let you guys hear it for yourself, because she's fucking stupid. At least that's what I think. But maybe you guys will see it differently. Here is Politics Girl.
Listen, Democrats, can we please stop talking about primarying Joe Biden? Who should run against Joe Biden? Will Democrats get behind Joe Biden? This many Democrats want an alternative to Joe Biden. Can we just not? The absolute last thing democracy needs right now is a Democratic primary. We're in late-stage capitalism with a corrupt Supreme Court on a knife's edge between autocracy and democracy, and people want to spend $100 million to undermine our successful incumbent when the alternative is the twice-impeached criminal ex-president or the man who is single-handedly turning Florida into a fascist dictatorship? Why? I know people are excited for fresh young leaders with bright new ideas, but those fresh young leaders will never get a chance if we don't protect democracy now. The fact is, Joe Biden has gotten more accomplished in 2 years than any president in the history of presidents. In an increasingly cynical world, Joe Biden is a decent man with an incredible staff who knows what he's doing and has thoughtful plans for the future of this country that include women's rights and gay rights and workers' rights and voters' rights and higher minimum wage and lower healthcare costs and environmental protections. It could be argued that the biggest reason democracy is winning in this David and Goliath story in Ukraine is because Joe Biden had the foreign policy experience and humility to gather world leaders together and build a coalition to support them. He can run on all of that. We don't need to replace him. We need to spend our time and money giving him a bigger majority in Congress so he can get even more accomplished. Yeah, he's old. He talks old. He's a goofy grandpa who says things like malarkey. Who cares? By every measurable metric, he's an excellent leader. If we didn't have lying propaganda networks and self-serving chaos agents constantly trying to sell us on the idea that he's some demented evil pedophile out to ruin the country, and you just looked at the facts of his presidency on paper, there would be zero debate he was doing a bang-up job. You don't spend $100 million undermining your own party to defeat someone who's doing a bang-up job. You run your successful sitting president, and you spend the resources you would have spent on a primary building the infrastructure that will defeat your opposition. You know, the party who wants to take your vote and force you to have a baby and tell you what you can read and what you can teach and what you can know. The people passing laws to tell people how to dress and how to act and what they can do with their own bodies. The party calling for a national divorce and suggesting that maybe Democrats shouldn't get to vote at all. The party that wants to get rid of everything from Social Security to public schools, who have already passed laws to strip women of their rights and make trans people detransition and force private companies to toe their policy line. You don't give those people the gift of fighting amongst yourselves. You spend your time and money working to put down that fascist, authoritarian, white Christian nationalist uprising taking over half the country. Joe Biden is better than any alternative the Republicans could put up. So if you want to win, how you feel about him is irrelevant. We don't need a new presidential candidate in 2024. We need to keep the Senate and flip the House. We need to fill the states with AGs who believe in the rule of law and legislators who believe in democracy. We need to pay attention to our school boards. Our current president is successful and he can win. We need to pick our battles right now. And a Democratic primary, it just isn't one of them. Sorry, not sorry.
So there it is. That's that's Politics Girl's takes on the Democratic primary. What a fucking stupid video. The last thing we need, democracy is under attack, and the last thing we need is more democracy. That's so fucking stupid. Dude, see, this is the problem with, like, mainstream Democrats, is that they will always try to convince you, right? They'll always try to convince you. And this is coming from somebody who in all likelihood, is probably going to vote for Joe Biden again. You know, I'm probably going to vote for Joe Biden again. But they always try to convince you that there's no better option. That you can't there's nothing else that could be done, right? You don't spend the president's doing a bang up job on paper. That's the stupidest shit. He's doing well on paper. Who gives a fuck if somebody's doing well on paper? That's like the stupidest shit that you could ever say about anything, almost, that it's good on paper. But and I mean, there are some things that Joe Biden has done that I've liked, and there are some things that he's done that I've really disliked. But at the end of the day, trying to, convince people that having a challenger in the primary is a bad idea due to some strategy is fucking stupid. That's dumb. That's fucking dumb. People get to choose. People get to make a choice. That's what democracy is. And her whole entire view of what it is skewed if she thinks that democracy means coming together and backing one candidate with no challengers in order to defeat other candidates. That's so stupid. I just was blown away by this because there's a lot going on right now. There's so much happening. Allegedly, I'm recording this late Monday night. It's 10 p.m. on Monday night. And allegedly, Donald Trump is supposed to get indicted or arrested tomorrow. I don't know if I believe that that's going to happen. Most of the, noise about the fact that he's getting arrested is coming from himself. So, and Fox News. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, if he gets arrested, it's going to have to happen in Florida, where Ron DeSantis is governor. And, he has some sway over whether or not Donald Trump might be extradited. So that'll be interesting to see, because they've been throwing jabs at each other too. Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump, two absolute fucking nightmares. They really, really scare me and freak me out. I don't know though, guys. I am sick of of the politics stuff already, but it's all so funny and I can't look away. I'm really sort of dreading, but also looking forward to the primaries, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow to see if Donald Trump gets arrested. He posted something on Truth Social that was like, "Take to the streets, defend your president, defend your freedom." And they were trying to do this big protest in New York. I saw it just before I started recording here on Twitter. They were talking about, there's 6 dudes or something at this protest in New York City. It's supposed to be the big one. There were more reporters than there were protesters at the place when they were posting videos about it on Twitter before this. So there's been some reporting. I was talking about Ron DeSantis and Trump throwing jabs at each other, and it kind of brings us to the next thing, because this lady, Politics Girl, is talking about the Democratic primary, but the more interesting one, I think, for sure, is going to be the Republican primary. Because you have going right now, as of right now, you have Donald Trump, who could be arrested, who could potentially be indicted tomorrow, allegedly. So we'll see how that plays out. But you have Donald Trump, and then you have Ron DeSantis, who hasn't entered the race yet. He hasn't declared that he's running yet. He still has some time, but it's up in the air. There's some other people that have entered the race who are not going to do dick. And, it's basically Donald Trump's to lose. It'll be interesting to see what happens with, this whole thing that he's supposedly going to be arrested for. I'll believe it when I see it. But Ron DeSantis made a little jokey joke about it, a little jab about it today, about him paying hush money to a porn star. Donald Trump tweeted about it, and then he deleted it because he tweeted something. Donald Trump truthed. He truthed about it. He truthed a link to the video, and he said, Ron DeSantis will eventually know what it's like to have accusations, whether false or real, levied against him, or some shit like that. It's pretty funny. But there's been some reporting about Ron DeSantis that he might not have that juice. He might not be the sort of answer that some Republicans were hoping he was shaping up to be. We'll see. I don't know how much this stuff affects him, but it's very weird regardless. So the Daily Beast, there was this article in the Daily Beast that featured some reporting that was based off of stuff that the authors were told by people who worked close to DeSantis, aides, former staff, that kind of thing. And there's some weird shit. Apparently, he's just not super good at interpersonal kind of interactions. The soft skills, the being, a normal person type shit. He's not very good at that, which makes sense. I mean, it's probably hard to be a normal person when you've, tortured people at Guantanamo Bay or whatever. Right? Like, it's probably pretty tough to just be like a regular guy after you've, force fed a bunch of dudes Insure or whatever it was that Ron DeSantis did. But the other thing is that he's getting sort of punked by Donald Trump quite a bit, is what it seems like. And people are against him. They don't like Ron DeSantis. A lot of the hardcore Trump supporters are sticking with Trump, and they're turning on Ron DeSantis. And it's just interesting, some of this stuff that they said. Somebody stood up during his donor retreat in Palm Beach in late February. An attendee stood up and called him DeSatan, according to Republicans familiar with the outburst. They called him DeSatan. That's pretty funny, dude. But they're all, they're all turning on him. But this is the thing, though. This is what makes Donald Trump so funny to me in regards to the Republican Party. Because this is for years. This stuff isn't new. It didn't just happen because of Donald Trump, right? People, these sort of like fucking nut jobs and sort of diehard conservatives always existed. They have been empowered by Donald Trump. But this was I like to think of it as like these sort of like hardcore conservatives as like a gun that was like, the gun was made and locked and loaded for like decades and decades, and like, all these sort of mainstream political powers on the right, stuff like Fox News and the GOP had firm control over where this gun got pointed at any time. And you kind of saw that in the leaks from the Fox News lawsuit, the defamation suit, where they're talking about how like this guy is fucking ruining everything. They're talking about Donald Trump in that way. And it's really funny because they had created this thing, and now Donald Trump, he sort of has taken the gun and pointed it at them. in some instances. And that is funny, and it would be funnier if I didn't, absolutely hate Donald Trump and think that he was like a complete moron. But it just is interesting to see this sort of happen, and these people are scrambling for somebody to be able to stand up to him, and they can't find anyone. The fucking base doesn't like anybody but Trump, and it's going to be a problem. And I think that you might even see, I know that there's been talk of it, but the GOP might look at changing the rules of their caucus, and to try to make it beneficial to a challenger to Donald Trump, and make it more like the DNC convention. Change their convention, rather, not their caucus. Changing their caucus rules. So that'll be interesting. I think that Donald Trump won't take the if he loses the nomination. I think that there is almost a 100% chance that he will run as a third party candidate. I think that it is like as close to 100% as you could possibly get. There's no way that guy is not running for president at all in 2024. I just don't see it happening. But yeah, he's crushing DeSantis, and it's becoming apparent that maybe this guy isn't sort of the political savior that some wings of the Republican Party believed him to be. And one of the things that they write about in this article that's so strange is Ron DeSantis apparently ate pudding, like the dessert pudding, with his fingers on like a private jet in front of a bunch of people. It says here in the article, it says, enshrined in DeSantis lore is an episode from 4 years ago. During a private plane trip from Tallahassee to Washington, D.C. in March of 2019, DeSantis enjoyed chocolate pudding dessert by eating it with 3 of his fingers, according to 2 sources familiar with the incident. A representative for DeSantis' political team did not return requests for comment on it. The scrutiny of his social skills, his past interactions, and his openness to unscripted interactions has been inevitable. A seasoned primary operative pointed out. That's bad writing. I don't know why that's not in quotes. Yeah, he's eating pudding with his hands, dude. He's a complete fucking psychopath. Only somebody who's tortured people at Guantanamo Bay could eat pudding with their fucking fingers. How can you imagine? Can you imagine being on a private jet, like on a private plane flight, with somebody who, is the kind of person who has a private plane that flies in places, and them eating pudding, taking 3 of their fingers and like literally I mean, I got to imagine that's how he did it, right? How would you eat pudding with your fingers? You just scoop it, right? And then just spoon it into your mouth. I wonder which 3 fingers he used. You got to imagine they'd all have to be touching, right? No, he did. He went with pinky, middle, thumb. Those are the 3 fingers that he used. He put his pointer and his ring finger down and scooped it. It's like a claw. He like picked it up. I don't know, dude. It's so strange to think about. And he has more than enough money for spoons. He has so much money for spoons. Why does he need to use his fingers? He can't be president. We can't have a president that eats pudding with their fingers, man. Come on, dude. Who are these guys? It just further cements like just how unrelatable the political class of people in this country are to like normal people. where they're like, yeah, like Ron DeSantis eats pudding with his fingers on private planes. you know, it's so hilarious, dude. It's also frightening though because he's a fucking monster. So that's pretty scary. It'd be pretty scary. I want to say that it would be scary to have a president who's tortured people, but I got to be honest. I think that we definitely have had presidents that have tortured people before. So that's got to be true. Who would have tortured somebody? Probably maybe H.W. Bush. Makes sense. He was in the CIA, right? Who else? Who else would have tortured somebody? George Washington. Pretty likely George Washington tortured people. I mean, for one thing, the whole Revolutionary War and that kind of stuff, but also he owned slaves, and I think that a lot of the stuff that people did to slaves could be, classified as torture, but who knows? Me and my bleeding heart, right? God, dude, how dare I? How dare I feel for people? Bro, these fucking people are nuts, man. I don't know. I think it would be really funny if Donald Trump did get arrested, but I also think it would be very I think it would be very politically advantageous for him if he did get arrested. I don't know if it helps him win an entire election, but it would certainly rile up some people for to support him in the primary, which it already seems like if he is going to be in it, he's going to run away with it. That's just a given, though. The people love him, man. He's holding the gun. He's got the gun. He's got the gun. I'm curious to see what exactly his sort of angle is. I know that, he's got his whole populism thing going on. Donald Trump, his little right-wing populism thing, and people buy into it super hard. But I'm curious to see what sort of side flavors he adds in this time. I imagine, I don't know. It'll be interesting. There's been some talk about the whole woke stuff, or like just even like the term wokeness or whatever, because a couple of weeks ago there was a poll that was done in Florida. I think it was Rasmussen. I've heard people say it both ways. But there was a poll that was done that indicated that this sort of using the word woke, at least, is not necessarily a message that is connecting with a lot of people in Florida, despite the fact that, Ron DeSantis won in a landslide and everything over the last few years since his reelection. It people have not taken to the sort of anti-woke rhetoric, at least, and to the degree that you would think that they are, because of how much of it is in mainstream media. And not even, I feel like, honestly, not even just right-wing media. Like, even, you get places like the New York Times and stuff writing articles about, like, like the dangers of wokeism and shit like that. And, so there was already a little bit of sort of dialogue, I feel like, or like discussion happening because of that. And then this moment went viral last week of this woman on a show on The Hill, which is a news outlet. I think they're predominantly online, but they have some video. They have like some news shows and shit. And this lady wrote an entire book about wokeism and how dangerous being woke is. But then she was asked to define it in this video, and she was unable to do it. She couldn't do it for some reason. So her name is Bethany Mandel, and here she is on the right on Rising on the Hill.
Consider themselves very liberal, and probably fewer of them consider themselves to be woke. And so, when we talk about traditional,
what does that mean to you? Would you mind defining woke? Because it's come up a couple times, and I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
So, woke is sort of the idea that this is going to be one of those moments that goes viral. Woke is something that's very hard to define, and we've spent an entire chapter defining it. It is sort of the understanding that we need to totally reimagine and redo society in order to create hierarchies of oppression. It's hard to explain in a 15-second soundbite.
Well, yeah, look, your time.
So there it is. That's that lady trying to explain what woke is. She said this is going to be one of those moments that goes viral. You damn right, lady. You're damn right. You ding dong. What are you talking about, dude? You can't define it. You wrote an entire fucking book, lady. Jesus Christ, what a moron. I went to read what the book was about. And this isn't just like, some rinky dink fucking shit, dude. This book, you could get it at Target. This isn't just some like, whoops, I fucking wrote a book and self-publish it and you can get an ebook on Amazon or something. This is a legitimate, you can buy it at fucking Target. You can go to Target? Dude, you can go to Target. It's a good read. But here's the description of her book. This is Stolen Youth by Bethany Mandel and Carol Markowitz. Here it is. The left is waging an all-out battle on the American family, particularly the youngest members. If they can make our children miserable, lead them to question every building block of society, and rebuild their entire concept of reality, then the left and their woke indoctrination will consider that a victory. But we can't let them win. As concerned parents and American citizens, we have to understand what is truly going on before we can do something about it. Stolen Youth provides an urgent deep dive into issues surrounding the education, medicine, mental health, entertainment, and culture. Oh, wait, whoops. I skipped a line. Sorry. Stolen Youth provides an urgent deep dive into issues surrounding the current woke indoctrination happening in politics, education, medicine, mental health, entertainment, and culture. These issues may seem subtle, insidious, and hard to make sense of, but armed with the information provided in this book, we now have a framework for which to fight. While we may simply be trying to parent our children well and create a healthy and happy home environment, this is no longer enough. We must now go on the offense to protect our kids. And this book sheds a bright light on the reason why we can no longer afford to stay ignorant. Our children's lives and the survival of our families are at stake. In quotes. A win is a family who is free. End quotes. Stolen Youth outlines how to fight for our children's freedom and win. Shut up. It's so fucking annoying, dude. I don't understand how anyone can read something like that. You know, it just clearly is like just so biased and such a fundamentalist sort of clearly fundamentalist like take on, you know, culture and the way that kids learn and stuff. It's so fucking dumb. And I don't understand how somebody can read that and be like, I gotta get this book. I gotta go to Target. I mean, come on, dude. Don't be so fucking stupid, guys. Don't read this lady's stupid fucking book. She's a stupid idiot. Go read a different book, dude. Go outside. You know? Go for a walk. Huh? Read Lord of the Rings. Right? There's a book, dude. There's a fucking book. Lord of the Rings. Just the one. Don't read The Hobbit. The Hobbit sucks. Fuck that Hobbit. But Lord of the Rings is good, but The Hobbit sucks. That's a new character I'm working on. Guy who hates The Hobbit but loves Lord of the Rings. I tell you what. I love Frodo, but I hate Bilbo. Frodo's sexy, Bilbo's ugly. Sorry for laughing so hard at my own jokes, but there's nobody else here. There's nobody else here. Somebody's got to laugh at him. People were dunking on that lady for not being able to define what woke is, and it's like so funny because I can easily define it. It basically just means anything. You know? Anything that Republicans or like conservatives don't like. That's what woke is. Pretty easy. Pretty simple to define, dude. Even Fox News had trouble with this. And you know, now we know through the leaks, or not leaks, but through the discovery in their lawsuit with Dominion voting systems, that they literally are the mouthpiece of the right and the Republican Party and the right-wing movement broadly. And even they couldn't really define what woke is exactly. This is I can't remember this fucking lady's name. She's on Fox News. She's a stupid fucking dumb idiot. Probably pretty racist too, if I had to guess. But I'm just guessing. But here she is. She's like, you know, because obviously after this lady embarrassed herself on the other show by not being able to define the thing that she wrote an entire fucking book about, a bunch of people came to her defense, or just were like, well, I can easily define woke. And so here that is. Here's a woman on Fox News defining woke. See if you can suss this one out.
One of the things about woke is, Matt, can you explain it to your mom? Think about that. And I remember when President Trump was running, and this was before he won in 2016, he used to get standing ovations initially when he would say, political correctness is ruining our country. And everybody that was clapping knew exactly what he meant. But it's sort of like the Supreme Court definition of pornography. You know it when you see it. So the Democrats want to get you in an argument where you're having to define wokeism as if the Webster's Dictionary is defining it. And that's not what it is. It could be a feeling. It could be a sense. And I wonder if Republicans or conservatives are going to have to define it more. She could be right. I don't know. This will be tested. But the other poll numbers you showed are important. The one thing I don't see any candidate really doing right now is talking about a plan for pro-growth economic means. And that's what Americans are pretty desperately looking for.
Isn't that like hilariously stupid? She didn't say anything at all. She's like, yeah, they want to get you in an argument where you define the thing that you are arguing about. These are the facts and logic, people. You know? I don't know, dude. I think that the powers that be have really won out. At this point, I think it's going to be hard to sort of detangle ourselves from this sort of disaster that we're finding ourselves in. But I guess we'll try to do that next week, 'cause this episode's over. So I'll talk to you again soon. Until then, try not to drift too far into the void of loneliness that is, living in the world today. And follow us on Instagram. And wherever you're listening to this, give us 5 stars. Come on, rate the fucking podcast. Don't be a little fucking prick about it. Thank you so much. I love you. I love you. I love you so much. Goodbye.